Hey, it's Brian. Didn't think I'd be back so soon, did you? Well, sent out an email today letting people know about the YouTube channel. On the email, I put a survey regarding content, what people might want to see. Well, the most popular one was something personal, a rant. I'm not sure how much I'll rant, but I am happy to get personal. I'm happy to let everybody know who I am and what I'm about, and within limits, of course. There's no nude photos. Nobody wants to see that. Oh. Anyway, so, and being that the second most popular was about the craft of writing, and it takes some time for me to put something like that together, and hell, I can rant readily. We're going to start there. So, listen up. All right.
Welcome to the Cube with Brian D. Anderson.
All right, here we go with rant number one. Now, if there's any abrupt cuts or anything that seems kind of weird, it's because I'm doing this unscripted. I am not planning on what I'm about to say. You know, I kind of know what I'm going to talk about, but that's about it. So bear with me. Now, but what to rant about? And you know, one thing I thought about ranting about was scammers. You know, people who do book stuffing for ebooks or clip farms and what else? There are all sorts of different scams and games people play in order to trick readers out of their money. But as I was thinking about that, and tricking readers out of their money came to mind, I kind of knew what I wanted to rant about. People who think good enough is good enough when it comes to indie publishing. You know, back in 2010 to 2012, when it's generally considered to be the age of the first indie explosion. Now, independent publishing did exist before 2010, but it really took off around then. And you had authors like Michael G. Manning, who's still putting out great work, Daniel Ayres and Ella Casey, and all these highly talented authors who were gaining popularity through a rapidly growing indie readership. And these were people, and the indie readers were great, and they still are, but at the time, we could price our books at 99 cents or $1.99 or $3.99 or whatever we wanted to price them at. We basically undercutting traditional publishing, and we could put out books faster, and which was our appeal. You know, we could, when you have your favorite author is only putting out a book once every 12 to 18 months, and you're a ravenous reader, you know, we were filling the gaps, and we were doing a great job at it, and we worked very, very hard. Because our books were being put up there next to the it was Big Six at the time. It was before Penguin and Random House became the Random Penguin. And, you know, so and we were doing very well like that. But there was a lot of garbage out there. There was a lot of people putting their unedited crap online and trying just to basically throwing crap against the wall and hoping something would stick, you know? And to me, it was an insult to what I was trying to do. It was also an insult to my readers, you know, that like they're too stupid to know the difference between an indie who cares about their work enough to invest in editing, invest in proofreading, and create a decent looking cover and do a decent design on the interior for their paperbacks, and somebody who blew out a draft of a poorly considered story, threw it up online, and hoped nobody would notice. And now people are still doing that. But back then, it was a plague because not a week went by when at least 2 or 3 articles would come out in the various online publications about how indies were nothing but a bunch of failed writers. We were hacks. We were just ruining the literary world by our poor prose and amateurish stories, and that was being kind. There were some pretty nasty things and accusations. They were calling us crooks and con people, and you name it. That we were accused of it. But there was a group of us out there who sort of rose to the top because we were determined to transform indie into something reputable. We were not going to put out some unedited piece of garbage that justified what those jackasses in the Guardian were writing about us. That we were going to be able to go to a convention and hold our heads up high when we said that we were independent authors. Now, people hold their heads up high now when they say that. But back then, it was like, it was like having herpes. And even if you went into traditional publishing, it stayed with you like herpes. But in time, things changed. An industry grew up around us that I never expected. I didn't anticipate it, and I wish I hadn't. I wish I had, because I'd be a wealthy person right now. Cover artists, editors, all the things that was almost impossible to find. And that I remember I searched, no kidding, I would search for hours and hours and hours through these artists' websites, just looking for cover art that I could use. And I'd find something that would fit the book, and I would contact the artist, and they would say no, or they didn't do covers, or for any other reason, or the people who I could pay to do a cover for me were either way beyond my budget at the time, which was, now you can get a cover for $150. Then it was, if you could find it, it sure the hell wasn't $150. So, and the ones that were cheap were they looked cheap. So, it was tough. Finding editors, you usually had to go with, in my last video, how I said that your old high school English teacher isn't an editor. Sometimes that was the only choice you had. Unless you could find somebody who was an editor who had retired, who was willing to, come out of retirement to help you out. It was tough finding editors. So, watching all this grow up around me and watching writers come and go, in and out of indie, watching friends of mine, their career blossom, it's really given me a love for independent publishing. And when I see people mistreating it from my point of view, it makes me angry. The scammers, you know what? You're going to have scammers. You're always going to have people who want to game the system. But we're starting to get invited to conventions, and we're winning awards. And, we're being recognized for what we've always been, which is writers. Real writers. Real professional writers. So that's kind of why I feel so strongly, and why I decry people who refuse to edit their books and have it proofread and feel that they have every right to publish their unedited garbage. You do have the right. Just because you have the right doesn't make it right. People like that, they hurt indie. So that's my rant. Hey, don't forget to click on the links below, and please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you enjoyed it. Talk to you again soon.